letter of request, reference PR stroke C stroke 501 stroke TEMP dot A stroke bracket 1, dated 1st March 2011, from Office of the President to Director of National Treasury in respect of $500,000 US cash withdrawal from Carnegie Mining account number 01201200366 at Central Bank. Admitted Mark 57, MS 57. Sorry, hold on. Counsel, I wish to remark that there is an attached document to this exhibit, and we do not seem to know the reason why it is attached, because it seems to be in exactly the same terms as the exhibit itself. Maybe you can examine that.
Yes, we retrieved it from the Office of the President files, so we can examine him on that.
Right. The content is exactly the same.
This is, no, we didn't copy it. Oh, is that a copy? Oh, it's a copy? I think it's... Sorry, Mr. Chairman, what was the issue? Sorry, I didn't quite...
What is the purpose of that second letter? The first and the second seem to have the same thing.
I'm sure it's just a file copy. This is how we retrieved it from the file, and we replaced it with a copy. But knowing civil servants, maybe it's just a file copy. Yes, you might have an answer.
Normally, you have 3 copies of such letters, and one is sent out and 2 are kept in the file. And probably that's the reason why you have another copy that is attached to them, but it's the same thing.
Well, thank you for that.
It is the same. It's just that, you know, there's an extra copy that was provided. It's through the filing system.
Very well. Can you tell us about the transaction? What?
Yeah, this was a transaction that we made upon being instructed to write, you know, to the Directorate of Treasury to provide the funds. And the reason that was given to us, you know, was it was an urgent state matter. And an urgent state matter, we write and request the funds from that account, and we wrote to that effect. And once the funds were ready, it was accompanied by the bank, you know, to the office of the Secretary General, Office of the President, and we informed the former president that the funds were available.
Who informed the former president?
I did. I informed the former president that what he assigned me to do, to write to the bank, to the governor, to Treasury, for the governor to provide this amount, is already delivered. And awaiting his further instructions. Then he said he was sending the Otley, Yusufa.
Yusufa.
You know, I don't know the last name, but it was an Otley to, you know, his house, and to come and receive the funds from us.
Where was his house?
Where was his house?
Yes.
He's attached to the office.
Oh,
to his
I
office.
See.
Yeah.
And your office was?
My office was downstairs, and his office was upstairs attached. There is a door that connects to his house.
You said the bank delivered the funds.
That's what I believe.
Do you remember who delivered the funds from the bank?
I do not remember. But I know that it was provided and it was delivered.
When we looked at the file, there was no minute from him on this matter. We just found this letter.
Not everything was minuted. Not all of his instructions were minuted.
Was anyone else involved in the process of this transaction, that is obtaining the funds from the bank and bringing them over to your office and the handing over of the funds, apart from this Yusufa?
Who was present?
Who was present or involved in the process?
It's probably the bank. I don't know whether the bank official or whoever brought it, was present longer. But I know that the bank, those delivered the amount were there, and then later Yusufa was called in to come. And I don't believe that they waited for him, to come. But when Yusufa came, he had a book, a registry, sort of when he receives any money, it would be recorded there. And if it is from me or I don't know from whoever else, but I know they would ask for that person's signature.
Did you ever go to Central Bank to receive cash?
Probably did, but I can't recall. And there were times that cash were delivered. There were times that I don't know how many, but I remember, yes, finding myself at the bank to receive, for a transaction. And other times they were delivered.
Mr. Ba, you were at the office a long time, and a lot of money in cash seems to have been received by the ex-president. Can you at least explain to us so that we can try to understand what was the president using this cash for, all this cash? Examples?
It's very difficult, to really explain
give us
what he was using.
At least occasions when you were there, when he used
cash.
cash.
I'm coming.
Yes.
Saying that it's not easy to really pinpoint what he was using those monies for. Sometimes there were some issues pertaining to possibly the university or some events that he was hosting, or some other issues. But it's really difficult to say that he was using these monies exactly for these reasons. We know that he had a big appetite for money, and he spends a lot also, some on people, some on equipment or materials, and some on his family or himself, and some will be for the state, in certain areas. But I wouldn't be able to pinpoint really why he was using those money or requesting those monies for. But when he says, for example, I'm using this for it's an urgent state matter, an urgent state, and he wouldn't tell you what that urgency is or what that matter for the state is. Sometimes it says it deals with security. Sometimes it's just left you hanging there. It's just difficult.
Did the president acquire any asset whilst you were there as Secretary General? Or
Sorry?
Did he acquire any asset that you know of whilst you were there?
Did he acquire any asset?
Asset.
Well, during my time, some of the Dune resorts and some other places around the coastal area that you would know that, he said he bought it, it was his, some properties. And the ranch over there and whatever is in there at Farato, and some other vehicles, there are many.
Okay. The ranch at Farato, what exactly is this ranch at Farato?
They have animals there, cattle.
Farato Farms, the one
yes,
referred to as Farato Farms. All right. Now, I would like to ask you about tractors called the Mahindra tractors.
Yes.
Do you know about the Mahindra tractors?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you involved in the process of the loan that was granted for the Mahindra tractors?
At some point, yes, I was involved at the initial
stage. Tell us your involvement about the Mahindra tractors.
Sometime, I believe, is in 2006. There was a trip to India where GIPA and I think the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Agriculture and the Office of the President were part of that trip. Members were part of the trip to India.
Were you part of that trip?
I was part of the trip, I think as Principal Assistant Secretary or something at that time. We went to India and we were received by officials from Mahindra company and our honorary consul general, who was at the time Sanjay Diwan. The purpose of the trip was to visit the site of Mahindra, the kinds of tractors that they manufacture, and what they had, to show. And I think it was being funded by Exim Bank of India, if my memory serves me right, as a grant. So while we were there, we visited the site, went to different locations where they manufacture different types of tractors for different uses. We met with officials from the Exim Bank of India, and there were discussions, I believe, on the way forward. I was a junior officer then, but I was present during those meetings.
Did you secure the supply of tractors to Gambia?
Did I?
Did the mission secure the supply of tractors to Gambia?
They end up securing the supply of tractors.
How many tractors?
It was supposed to be 500 altogether. But I don't know whether that was exactly what was brought, what was delivered. But I assume that 500 tractors were delivered.
What happened to the 500 tractors?
When they came, they were stationed at the MSA at Kotu, MSA site at Kotu, and for some time. And it was meant for the mechanization of agriculture, of Gambian agriculture, Gambian farming. And when they arrived, I think they were assembled, and then some were brought at the State House to show the president. And I I used to see some in front of the KGI building on Kairaba Avenue. And I do understand that some were sold, some were given out to some farmers, and some were used by the former president at his farms. And the rest I do not know what happened.
The ones you had were sold. Who sold them? Surely not the office of the president. Where
KGI, yes, KGI sold them.
You are aware? Did you recollect? Do you recollect the value of the whole consignment? We'll retrieve.
No, ma'am, I do not.
We are retrieving the documents anyway. They are over $6 million.
I do not remember, recall.
Who else was on that mission with you?
I think it was Mr. Keba Toure. At that time, he was the CEO of GIPA, GIPSA at that time. I think it was Abdul Koli, the Minister of Finance then. The Minister of Finance. And Nafi Bari, Mrs. Nafi Bari, at that time was PS at the Ministry, I think, of what is finance or trade? Yeah, one of them, finance or trade. And Mr. Surua Jaite, I think, was at the Ministry of Agriculture. And one other staff, I think is a female, I don't remember.
What about the John Deere tractors? Were you in the office of the president when these were purchased?
I was there at the time.
Okay. Can you tell us about the John Deere tractors?
John Deere tractors, the company was introduced to the president, to the former president, by, I think, one Mr. Jackson McDonald.
Oh, where is he from?
He was based in the United States, in Washington, D.C. The president, I think, discussed with him about, mechanization of, farming in the Gambia, and that he needed, his help to establish contact with the company, so that he can deal with them in acquiring, tractors. He said that he had tractors before, and that was probably referring to the Mahindra, tractors. But for him, that was a failure. But he wanted to get into business with these people so that they can supply tractors to the Gambia, which would be used for a project he had that is the Vision 2016, there was a Vision 2016 project of funds that he was expecting, for agriculture. So contacts were made, and they visited the country and had an audience with, the former president. During that audience, there were the president explained or told them the types of tractors he was looking for. There was this experience he had with Massey Ferguson manufacturers. They also manufacture tractors, which he said he had an experience or bad experience with them. So basically he told them what he wanted, and they said they were ready and they were able to provide those tractors. And they left, and then later on, communications ensued, and they came back again. They came back for probably to finalize or to work on the terms of payments and the scheduling of deliveries and all that. So I do remember that took place. And payments, was a problem. And we had to resort to Social Security to assist with that. And there were delays with LCs from the bank, Trust Bank, Social Security, and all that. But at the end of the day, deliveries of those tractors were made, to the Gambia. Right. And also some consignments assembled at the Office of the President at the grounds there by the field, if you're familiar with it, the grounds of State House, where vehicles parked, they were somewhere parked there, and the others were at the MSA.
All right. We'll call you back.
Sorry. I'm afraid we have to stop here because we have some administrative matter. So we'll rise and we'll be back tomorrow, Thursday, tomorrow.